It's a thing to worry sometimes to hear my phone ring. Because it's more than likely that it's a call from the family. They call when something has happened or when they need something. To become a man in Nigeria is a major challenge. Childhood is short for the male child. You're taught in ways that are not woman. In no time the full weight of the family rests on your shoulders even before you're ready. As a man, the required age for you to wage those responsibilities become less and less. Some Nigerian kids have been the sole provider of their families before they even got to 18. You're a man. Be a man. You're no longer a child. These are all dreadful phrases for the Nigerian man. It's a reminder that it's high time you became responsible. People don't necessarily care if you have a job, they just want you to be a man. You're to settle your sister's disputes with their husbands. Dad's medical bills are all on you. Mama's new encore is on you. Family contributions and meetings are all on you. Community development and contributions are all on the man. Your wife's family responsibility is sometimes on you. Your immediate family, wife and children's needs are all on you. Unless your significant other is supportive, which automatically makes living easier for the man. The men have the fewest of personal belongings in most homes. The Nigerian man lives a life of sacrifice immediately he's old enough. They say life expectancy is short for the Nigerian men. Well, it's because there are so many things wanting to kill the Nigerian man. They say men die in silence, that we want to be the heroes by not sharing our problems, by trying to solve them all by ourselves, that a problem shared is a problem solved. But to whom do we share them with? Some see complaining as viral misery, that it doesn't spread sunshine. Sometimes countryman needs only a little push to get back on track, but too ashamed to ask for help because he would feel worse if they would consider him weak, if he won't get the help he needs. I praise men. Most times your inputs are deeply buried in the everyday noise of life, but as a man I know it's not easy for Shasha. Being a man is difficult, but being a man in Nigeria is twice as difficult still. I'm not from Nigeria, so keep that in mind, but I have done some work trying to help some friends I have made over the years who do live there, and these are the things that really stuck out to me. 1. The insane amount of pressure on the working age people is making it almost impossible to function in a way that leads to success. I was raised in a way where you didn't complain. The average Nigerian is a one-man or mini local government. He or she have to provide for everything by themselves to get some semblance of comfort. Let me give a brief rundown of amenities that the average Nigerian provides for themselves. You are in charge of providing your own security. You either get someone to man your residence, this one is prevalent amongst us, you employ a security company to do so for those who can afford it, or you chip in for communal security. You are your personal utility company. Power generation is personal. The average household has a power generating set. For better understanding, I recommend you read Providing Water for Yourself and in some cases your neighbor/neighborhood. Most buildings have a submersible pump and an overhead tank for water storage. 3. Healthcare. Had a saying once, you are one illness away from bankruptcy. Our healthcare is a joke and annoyingly expensive. The health insurance scheme run by the government and some companies don't cover major illness, I stand corrected. Hospitals/clinics exploits their patients. There's a lot to be said about this. 4. Living life out of pocket. Your life is dependent on your earning potential. No subsidization. Victor's answer also come to mind. A lot of responsibility falls on you. You are responsible for keeping your environment clean and your personal well-being. Above all this and more, we are resilient, hopeful, and very optimistic. Ego better is the mantra of an average Nigerian. Protesting for nothing more than the basic needs, something which should be provided for out of your crooked politician's pocket. There's no excuse to not make a decent living wage, for food costs to be so expensive people have to worry how to feed their children. Also, if your country can't see to it to have 24-hour-a-day power, then they should provide the generators needed, gas to fix the damn plummeting naira. I can't imagine never knowing what your naira is worth day to day, that's if you are lucky enough to even be able to have a little left over to afford to buy rice or noodles. And don't get me started on the poor network service provided. It would be nice to have just one complete call or text without constantly being disconnected. Medical care, there is also a joke. To receive the best care you need to be going to a private hospital or clinic, but when you have to pay cash before services, I find appalling. I paid for my BF daughter to have emergency surgery. If I hadn't, the child would not have lived. To readers in the US, can you imagine if you needed water to cook or clean, shower, etc., that you have to go outside, rain or shine, and pump it? I don't mean pumping a liter, I'm talking about huge barrels and many of them. Or when you are done pumping water, I hope you have enough energy to wash clothes. Washing clothes requires you to use the water you just pumped, then pouring it into buckets to wash and rinse your clothes. This becomes an all-day ordeal. A country so rich in resources should be doing better for its people. You wonder why they are scammers? I don't. They have reached a point of desperation and see no other choice. Don't tell a Nigerian to get a job. If jobs were available, they would happily be working. Nigerians are a very resilient people, and with God on their side they will see better days. Regardless of my race and location, the majority of my friends are either of the Igbo or Yoruba tribe. There are hundreds of different tribes, and they are either Muslim or Christian. I have a deep love and respect for Nigerians as a whole, but no one is more special to me than the good, kind, caring friends I have made 8,000 miles away. One thing I face daily is the Lagos traffic, which many has become experts in maneuvering roads. Google Map to the rescue. Well, as a tax-paying citizen, I sometimes feel we are entitled to some amenities which can be made available by the government alone. I have realized that the average Nigerian gets less than 4 hours of stable electricity daily. It's like a norm for decades, and I doubt top government officials are aware of this. There is just no active determination by any government for far to solve this challenge once and for all. All we'll hear is that X billion dollars have been awarded for this, nothing more. From learning with candles and rechargeable lamps in secondary schools to visiting a charging kiosk to charge appliances at tertiary and enduring the wicked noise of generators, sadly ever after, average Nigerians will have ugly stories to tell about the effects of epilepsy. Electricity. Electricity needs to be fixed and made 24/7 for all Nigerians. There are a lot of issues in Nigeria, just like any other society or nation. However, there is a very big unemployment issues among teeming young youths who are able and willing to work. Power, housing issues are also other major problems I have recently seen, and not sure any major solution is in place to curtail it. Perhaps this environment is one the best for business, and everyone knows. As Africa's most populous country, largest economy, and most notable democracy, Nigeria is a bellwether for the continent. A weakening economy, rising insecurity, and violent conflicts threaten progress made in its democratic development. Amid deepening distrust in government and institutions, Nigeria has significant work to do in improving national, state, and local security and governance ahead of national and state elections. Why are Nigerians suffering? When people accept to divide themselves on religious ethnic grounds, they suffer, and suffer. When poor voters surrender all their responsibilities to the political class, especially corrupt ones, they suffer, and suffer. When hardship is master planned and executed to divert citizens' attention, the nation suffer, and suffer. When a country like Nigeria believes and heavily rely on individual ability rather than institutions, system, or mechanism, everyone suffers, and suffer. When you don't recognize the hardworking and innovative citizens, that is automatic praise earned by the corrupt elites. The younger ones will grow up in degraded mode, which is why they also suffer, and suffer. Those who don't suffer are fulfilling the Chinese philosophy of yin, without darkness, you can't see the light, hence in Nigeria without enjoyment, you won't notice suffering. Not all Nigerians are suffering though. There is a fundamental formula to follow and live better anywhere in the world. As the wise saying goes, the life is not perfect, but the way you live it can make it perfectly wonderful. Quote copied from my friend's email signature. We do make a terrible mistake by thinking the government is the sole architect of our life. In contrary, we all have a collective responsibility to disinfect the nation's default suffering. Pius Stand was only 17 when he became the man of the house. His father, the bricklayer, had collapsed at a construction site, and with no money for proper medical care, he died 2 weeks later. His mother, a petty trader, had no stable income, and his younger siblings, Bolu and Kihind, looked up to him with wide, expectant eyes. "Pius, what are we going to eat today?" Bolu once asked, his tiny fingers clutching his elder brother's shirt. Pius had no answer. There was nothing in the house, not even Gary to soak. With secondary school behind him and no money for university, he hit the streets of Lagos in search of work. He tried everything, washing cars, running errands for traders in Balegan market, and even carrying loads for customers at mile 12. But what he earned was never enough. The rent was due, his mother was sick, and his siblings' school fees were unpaid. "Pius, you are the man of the house," his uncle reminded him whenever he asked for help. "A man finds a way." But what way? The streets whispered temptations in his ears. Friends he once knew as schoolboys now drove cars and wore gold chains. They made money quickly, but Pius knew the price of that kind of wealth. He had seen boys taken away by the police, never to return. One night, as he lay on the thin mattress he shared with his siblings, staring at the cracked ceiling, his mother's labored breathing filled the room. She had been coughing for weeks. The government hospital had turned them away because they couldn't pay. Pius clenched his fists. Was this what being a man meant? Carrying burdens so heavy they crushed the soul. The next day, he borrowed money from a friend and bought a wheelbarrow. He became a porter in Lagos Island, pushing loads through the traffic-clogged streets, sweating under the sun. It was back-breaking work, but it put food on the table. His siblings had something to eat, his mother got medicine, though not the best, and for the first time in months, he felt like he could breathe. But life in Nigeria had a way of laughing at small victories. One evening, as he was heading home, he received a call. "Mama, don't die." The phone slipped from his fingers. The world spun. The woman who had sacrificed everything for him, who had held their family together with sheer will, was gone. At her burial, as people patted his back and called him the man of the house, Pius felt nothing but emptiness. He had done everything right, yet life had taken and taken until he had nothing left to give. But as he looked at Bolo and Kihind, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty, he knew he couldn't give up. If there was one thing his mother had taught him, it was resilience. And so, he picked up his wheelbarrow again and pushed forward, one step at a time. Because in Nigeria, you don't stop. You keep going. Because it go better someday. Pius' turn had reached his breaking point. That afternoon, under the scorching Lagos sun, he parked his wheelbarrow by the roadside and slumped beneath a flowering tree. His chest was tight, his body weak. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, but it was nothing compared to the pain in his heart. His mother was gone. His siblings depended on him. Life had shown him no mercy. Tears rolled down his face as he whispered to the wind, "God, is this really what life is meant to be?" He didn't notice the black SUV that had pulled over nearby. A middle-aged man in a crisp white shirt watched him for a moment, then walked over. "Young man, why are you crying?" the stranger asked. Pius wiped his face quickly. "Oga, nothing, sir." The man's eyes flickered to the wheelbarrow. "This is your work?" "Yes, sir." The man sighed. "Come with me." Pius hesitated. Lagos was full of deceit, but something about the man's presence felt different. With nothing to lose, he followed him into a small but well-kept office a few blocks away. "Tell me your story," the man said. Pius poured out everything, his father's death, his mother's suffering, the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, and how he had almost given up on life that day. The man listened, then leaned forward. "You remind me of myself many years ago. I was once like you, struggling to survive." He smiled. "But one person changed my life. Today, it's my turn to change yours." That was how Pius got his first real opportunity. The man owned a logistics company and offered Pius a job as a dispatch rider. With time, he learned more about the business and worked his way up. Within a few years, he started his own small logistics company, employing young men like himself who once had no hope. At his mother's graveside, he made a vow. I will not let poverty kill me before my time. I will help others rise. Now a successful entrepreneur, Pius speaks to young Nigerians whenever he can. Don't lose hope. Don't let society rush you into an early grave with pressure. Take life one step at a time. To parents, he pleads, don't burden your children beyond what they can bear. Give them love, support, and a chance to grow at their own pace. To the government, his message is sharp, provide basic amenities. Nigerians are hardworking, but we cannot continue to struggle for everything. Fix the roads, the hospitals, the power supply. People are dying from stress and poverty when they shouldn't have to. Pius Stand was once a broken boy under a flower tree, but fortune smiled on him before it was too late. Now he shines a light for others, reminding them that no matter how dark the night, morning will always come. Moral lessons from the story. Resilience and hard work can lead to breakthroughs. Despite overwhelming challenges, Pius did not give in to despair. He kept pushing forward, and in his lowest moment, fortune found him. This teaches us that perseverance, even in difficult times, can open doors to unexpected opportunities. Society should not overburden young people. The pressure on young Nigerians to take on responsibilities beyond their capacity leads to stress, poverty, and even untimely deaths. Parents should support their children's growth without forcing adulthood too soon, and the government must provide basic amenities to reduce unnecessary suffering. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let's keep sharing powerful African stories together. Your support means everything. A new dawn for Pius Stand. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the small shop, Pius Stand stood before a group of young men and women. His once weary face now carried a warmth of hope, his tattered clothes replaced with neatly pressed attire that spoke of newfound dignity. With a deep breath, he shared his story, of the burdens he once carried, the nights he went to bed hungry, and the tears he shed under the flowering tree by the roadside. He spoke of the kind stranger who extended a hand when he was at his lowest, changing the course of his life forever. The truth is, he said, his voice steady, poverty and hardship can break a man, but they can also mold him. What we need is a chance, just one chance to rise. The young listeners nodded, some wiping away silent tears. They saw in Pius a reflection of their own struggles, but more importantly, they saw a possibility, a future where things could be better. As Pius looked up at the sky, he whispered a silent prayer of gratitude. His journey was far from over, but he had found his purpose. He would work hard, help others, and never forget the lessons hardship had taught him. And with that, he turned to unlock his shop, his own business, his own dream, one that had once seemed impossible. Indeed, a new dawn had begun for Pius Stand. They say men die in silence, that we want to be the heroes by not sharing our problems, by trying to solve them all by ourselves, that a problem shared is a problem solved. But to whom do we share them with? Some see complaining as viral misery, that it doesn't spread sunshine.